Guys, I'm going to do several videos today. So I've got my dehydrator going already with that pumpkin that I just did in my previous video. So I decided I'm going to do an experiment. And you know me, never done it before. Let's give it a try. If it works, awesome. If it doesn't, oh well. First of all, I have made bean flour to make like noodles and stuff with. And of course, you know me, I didn't read the directions because I know everything. And I just ran dry beans through my flour mill. It was, okay. Not that I would do it again. But then I thought, you know, maybe I should research how this is actually done. And what I read was you need to cook the beans and then dehydrate them. I'm like, whatever, because you know, us know-it-alls. Well, let's give it a try, and I'll bet you it's going to turn out a whole lot better. I went down to my pantry. You've all seen me can dry beans, how I do it. And I've decided I'm going to make black bean flour. So all I'm going to do with these beans is dump them out, because you know they're cooked. Dump them out, rinse them, put them in the dehydrator. Then I have seen like refried bean powder that you just add water to it. Why can't we do that at home? So I'm going to do a jar of pinto beans and a jar of black beans. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these in my food processor and make mush, you know, bean paste, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm going to put that in my dehydrator. I'm going to do one of black, one of pinto, and we'll see if we can make a powder out of that. That would be a whole lot easier to travel with. So let's get started. Okay guys, this couldn't be any easier. I just dumped my pint jar of black beans in this strainer and rinsed them well in cool water. I'm going to scatter them out here on the dehydrator. This time I'm using just a small mesh screen. That'll keep the beans, I don't know, they won't dehydrate that much, that they'll fall through one of these. So I won't need the fruit roll-up tray. I'm going to put this in the dehydrator right on top of that pumpkin. And we'll let it go all night. We'll check her in the morning. Okay guys, now I'm going to do the, we'll call it puree, mush, usually your favorite word. I'm going to leave the juice in these. And I've heard some say that there's pretty good flavor, but I might regret it, but that's okay. This is an experiment, right? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get both of these jars individually. I got a pint of black and a pint of pinto, and I'll get them all pureed up, and I'll be back. Okay, the pinto beans are already in the dehydrator. Here's the black beans. I made them really liquidy. You know, in refried beans, sometimes you get chunks of beans, but I didn't want to do that because I just need to make sure they got really dry. So anyway, I'll just go pour this on, and for obvious reasons, I'm using one of the fruit roll-up trays. And I'll get this spread out and put in the dehydrator. I'll show you what the pinto beans look like. That's the pinto beans. And we'll be back in the morning and see what we have. Okay guys, it's the next morning after I put the beans, the pureed beans, on the dehydrator. These are the pinto beans. These are the black beans. It looked like chocolate yesterday when I put it on, and it still looks like chocolate, but don't taste like it. So what I'm gonna do is how I do my other dehydrated foods. and I'm interested in seeing how much this will dehydrate down to, because this started out with a half a cup of dry beans that I had canned. So I've got my parchment paper here. And I'll put, oh, that comes off really nice too. Now remember, don't ever oil or grease or whatever your trays, because you don't want that in your dehydrated foods, because oils go rancid and you're not going to get a really good shelf-stable product. All right, what I do then is I've got my cheapo little coffee grinder here that I use to grind everything except coffee. And I will put those beans in and get them ground up. And then for fun, we're going to rehydrate them just to see if how they taste and how they look. And I don't know. I've never done this before. Might be fun, huh? Okay, guys, I got the beans ground up, and it looks like chocolate. So I need to label it right away so nobody tries to put this in their milk. But after I ground it up, I realized, well, I've just got bean flour, because my intention was to take these beans that I dehydrated back and run them through my grain mill and make the bean flour that way, which no sense in doing it like that. I'm going to go ahead and grind a few and see what I have, but what I'm thinking, you know, when you have refried beans, there's usually bigger chunks of beans in there. So another little experiment. Let's see what I get. Okay, the whole beans, they don't grind up as fine. Looks like coarse ground pepper, or even a little bit larger. But I'm going to take what I've got here and rehydrate some of the powder, and then I'll add this, and I'll see if we have refried beans. I'll see what they taste like. This is a fun experiment. Okay, I got my boiling water. I start with these whole beans. I'll put those in. Those probably take a little bit longer. I don't know, I'm guesstimating. And then we'll take some of this black bean powder. Again, I'm just guesstimating. I'll go ahead and stir that in. Same with these beans. I think these might take a little bit longer to rehydrate because there's pieces of bean in that. If this turns out too soupy, I can always add more bean powder, but it's thickening up right away. It's rehydrating pretty quickly. In the meantime, while these are rehydrating, I'm going to go ahead and run those whole beans through my flour mill and see what they look like. And I got to make whole wheat flour today anyway, so this will do it while I'm at it. Okay, so I ground those whole beans, and that's what I got. And it's a bit finer than what I did in my coffee grinder, but I doubt I'm going to do this again unless I do a large amount, and I have no plans to do that. It's kind of messy. So I decided we're having so much fun, I put those whole beans in a glass of water, and we'll see what happens there. Here's the ground up whole beans that were kind of chunky. Those look really good. And I put too much water in this, but those are rehydrating. And yes, I tasted them, and they taste really good. So I would say this was a successful experiment. I might use my bean. Matter of fact, I am. I'm going to go ahead and mix these together, and I'm going to try making egg noodles with bean powder. These taste so good. I think it'll make really good egg noodles, and probably for people that can't do the gluten in, you know, regular flour. So that'll be another experiment for another day. All right, guys. I'm going to wrap this up. Let me show you. I went ahead and mixed all the powders together because I don't really care. That's the black beans that I, made into a puree. And these are the pinto beans. And the top layer is the black beans that I dehydrated whole bean and ran through my flour mixture, my flour mill. So this turned out a bit lighter than this, but it could be because I had made rice flour previously and it could have mixed with that. Anyway, kind of pretty in there, isn't it? One of these days we'll make egg noodles with bean flour. And it's kind of as I suspected, there's 3 pints of beans in this pint jar that dehydrated down, and that's pretty typical of what I thought might happen. It dehydrated to 1/4. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. Let's call this experiment a success.